What does the future of virtual frontline leadership training look like? Hi, I'm Kirk Langford, General Manager here at Unique Training and Development and Frontline Leadership Systems USA. I want to talk a little bit about the future of virtual programs for frontline leaders. There's a myth out there that virtual training is really only suitable for certain types of leaders. I'm here to tell you that that is indeed a myth, and that virtual training programs can be successful for any type of learner. There's just a couple things you got to keep in mind. In fact, according to a study by Brandon Hall Group, 92% of organizations say that virtual training is effective for a diverse range of learners. So what that tells us is, although some of us may feel as though virtual training only works for certain people or in certain situations, or if it's covering certain topics, what we know is that there are things we can do to make sure that it's successful no matter the topic and no matter the audience. Really, during the pandemic, many of us saw that we're capable of learning, working, and living in a much more virtual world than we had ever previously imagined. And of course, while many of us were glad to get back into the real world once the pandemic died down somewhat, the reality is that we were much more open to the idea that virtual training can be just as successful and helpful for learners as in-person training. But there are those things we need to keep in mind. So let's talk about those. I've got 3 tips for you to make sure that your virtual training for frontline leaders is just as effective for any type of learner. First tip, keep it relevant. If the learners don't connect to the content, you're done for. The learners have to feel that the case studies, the activities, and the examples are relevant to them, things that they see, experience, and deal with in their day-to-day. After all, no one wants to sit through training that they don't think they'll ever use after that training day. Number 2 is keep it engaging. No one is excited by someone sitting in front of their laptop, 1 foot away, reading from the PowerPoint slides in monotone. It's just not going to keep your attention for very long. So it's important that the instructor is engaging, a strong communicator, and that they're passionate and knowledgeable about the content that they're delivering. The third tip is to keep it varied. Death by PowerPoint is a very real thing, and yet something we actually still see a lot of in virtual training. Virtual training needs to include interactive activities. It needs to include employee participation through things like polling questions, discussion groups, and even individual reflection and work time. And even simulation activities so that the participants can start to put the learning into practice right away, during the training itself. So those are 3 quick and easy tips for you to help ensure that your virtual training for your frontline leaders is successful. You may notice that these are all things that we do here at Unique Training and Development and Frontline Leadership Systems through our own virtual training studio that we are in right now. And so if that's something you're interested in, continuing to increase the skills of your frontline leaders, please reach out to us and let's start a conversation to discuss the topics that you want to cover with your organization to really increase their skills, their competence, and their capability.